It's a good intro, I think. Good. Okay. Sure. Hello.
All right, so now, there we go. Next speaker, last for tonight, Geoffrey Lillemon from, is that, do I say that correctly?
Geoffrey Lillemon? Yeah, it sounds good.
Geoffrey Lillemon.
You say it better than I say it.
Okay, thank you. From all the way from Amsterdam, please give it up for Geoffrey.
Thanks for having me. I drank a gazillion glasses of wine, so I'm well lubricated to talk about some stuff. So, this is a self-portrait. I just think it's a good introduction because it's photorealistic. So I live in Amsterdam. This is a bit the atmosphere that I kind of see in Amsterdam. Is that better? Okay. I'll try to speak like this. So I'm inspired by the merger of classical art and science. Things like Bacchus, thus the wine, and science, which I love this thing. There's a big, huge debate in the science community whether it's a shark or a shorse. Which I don't know. Science is complicated. I like classical art that's remixed in a sense, like Christian van Minnen, who takes like the old Dutch classical underpainting methods and gives it kind of a twist. And then also character artists like Gregory Jacobson for the perverted, hideous, grotesque nature of it. And the actions. It's so kinky in Germany, such a thing. And then Carl Sagan, or Neil deGrasse Tyson is the new Carl Sagan. I like that vibe. And crazy, hideous aliens. And then technologists working within our contemporary culture like Memo Atkin, who deals with lasers and things. And I like to describe the kind of work that I do as hallucinatory poetry, which is kind of a way to get museums and galleries to support the artwork and think it has some like deep, ultra-real meaning by merging the digital and physical with the subconscious. And this work exists in galleries. It exists on the internet as a gallery. I'm thinking about net art and how we can use the vast medium of the internet to get a different kind of experience for people so that people can look at artwork when it's intended for the internet and have a one-on-one experience with the artwork, which is very interesting, as opposed to artwork that exists in a gallery or a museum, then it becomes a very public experience. So there's something nice about artwork that's intended for internet purposes. And brands, of course, talk a little bit about that, about how to take art and align it next to a brand so that you can still do whatever you want and have the brand pay for it. And then exhibiting on the pop star stage as a way of using popular culture as a new art medium, I think is quite interesting. So I try to answer a question. Where does hallucinatory poetry come from? From the following topics: experimental love affairs, internet worship, soul remixing, and the death of the expected. So all of this, I run under a company name called Geoffrey Lillemon Studio. And we have a philosophy of breaking art with technology or breaking technology with art. And that's a way of using technology to bring art to a new sensory space, so making it kind of a hyper-realized sensation, and then taking technology and infusing it with a layer of art that gives it a little bit of a human heartbeat and a little bit of a little dance to the ones and zeros. This is our office, generally. Just thermal cameras, laptops, boat slaves, and guy that knows how to use a computer. And we always start things with sort of a concept, which is called the unfinished business, which is about doing experiments and research and things that are maybe horrible ideas, but just ideas that come from a pure standpoint, that are not referring to references and are not coming from an expected place. So just trying things that are new. And after that's finished, showing that to clients and whoever is interested in kind of being in that, and giving them something to go by. So it's just it's a way of selling people experiments as a form of commercial work. And so this is one of taking an old cartoon and was it horribly buzzy? It's maddeningly buzzy, and remixing it with more modern fluid simulations. Which it becomes interesting to think about how you can use old data like animation from Warner Brothers and then think about how it works with displacement maps or fluid simulations or these things that we can do. And so doing that, it started generating these sculptural forms. It became quite interesting. It's like, all right, this is like the sculptures that Bugs Bunny's frantic movements are starting to create. And then using things, like 3D Studio Max with V-Ray or Maya with V-Ray, you can suddenly start rendering out this kind of data in a realistic sculptural way. So it becomes very easy to start thinking about how this stuff exists if it was real and not based strictly in digital fantasy. And doing that, it inspired the creation of like, all right, let's, let me try to rework the kind of classic Warner Brothers animation into something like horribly perverted and sad and demented. And so first I was like, all right, I want to get a beautiful girl that has nothing to do with the animation but to dance on a trampoline, which is, you can always convince anyone to do anything if you're just saying it's for work. And then thinking about how that look with the thermal camera, how to translate that to 3D imagery. And then doing just technique studies, looking at how to use wave simulations and distorting it to become clouds and kind of becoming like a familiar movement, but a little bit of a different visual. And then attaching the movements of a biped to the water simulations to suddenly get like alluring, sensual gestures. And then this is the love story. And I ran all the audio on it through Pulse Stretch. I don't know, I think it was a really bad idea because it makes it horribly creepy, but I guess we just have to watch it. So there's no beat or rhythm. It's just was all shot live action. So I think it's good to think about how to merge experimental thinking and how to make money. So this is another one of the tests going back to this unfinished business approach. Being like, okay, let's start thinking about portraiture and how to define an identity and start doing sort of some 3D effects and ideas. The unfortunate thing about this is I completely forgot how I did it after I did it. And so I think it's something with like a soft body physics with objects attached to the vertices. But that inspired being like, okay, portraiture is interesting, how to do that and bring that into fashion, because that's where the commerce can be, that's where this kind of experimental thinking can be leveraged to make something that sells a thing for another person and they like it. And so to start out doing that, it's like, okay, let's mix spontaneous workflow and low budgets, at least something. So it's like, all right, go take inspiration from the you know, most decrepit kitchen ever, and then and just use the materials from that kitchen and just start using it as composition elements to do a fashion spot. So. Started like creating this seduction and oh, sorry for the typo. It's so unprofessional. God, I feel horrible. So seducing a brand to work with these kind of keynote presentations. I forgot to spell check. But this is so I was like, okay, now let's actually attach a brand to it, and this is a pitch for Pizza Hut, which I hated horribly, but
Sister, who's the only one?
No! No! God, please, no!
Traveling in a freighter combi.
so then. All right. Maybe it's time for another glass of wine. Is there any more wine? Is it possible to get some more? I mean, otherwise my voice gets dried out and then I don't have anything to talk about. But, okay. So this is a video called Barbez, and we shot it in Paris, and this was paid for by Adidas, and Adidas did a very interesting thing where they're like, okay, we'll give you money, make some artwork, you don't have to attach the Adidas brand or the logo to anything, we just want you to support this kind of like way of remixing digital thinking with filming and painting and all of these sort of different things and be involved in that kind of thinking process. So they were like, all right, here, we'll support some productions, and then I had to do a few interviews with them, but that was like the extent of it. So it was really like an branded thing. And so I took the opportunity to take a cello player in Paris, really amazing cello player named Geoffrey Lillemon, and paint him green, and using him as a human green screen. And this is the environment, so it's really like a noisy scene underneath a bridge. and then get kind of like a reverse effect to show a cello player without the instrumentation. Thank you. And technically in this, there's something that, I think there's a lot more technical people here that could do this better, but I think it's interesting to tint the skin, do audio reactive skin tinting. I think it'd be quite nice. It didn't come across so well in that, but I think that doing audio reactive like body flickering is a thing to be explored with people that know After Effects really well. And then, so I was like, okay, this is, working within this realm of sort of like brands and, cheap fashion stuff. It's like, all right, how do you get high budget things? How do you actually like get perceived as someone that works in that? And so the only way I could do that was make up a brand. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna make up a luxury brand and then work for it. And then, so this is called Aureola. And it just like gives a diluted perception of wealth and being like some guy that gets paid a lot of money to do things. And so this is the advertisement for a fake luxury perfume. And product shot. And the perception of and that has some kind of effect on brands. And then Diesel got contacted by them, and it's like, okay, they're like, make whatever you want, you just have to put jeans in it. It's like, fine. So all the photos that I have don't have jeans in it because it looked retarded. But this part, if you squinted your eyes and looked from the right angle, you could get like these kind of things without like jeans or watches being stuck in it. But this is a presentation, so I can not show those shots, I guess. And then, but it was, there's always something when working with art for brands that the one thing they do want, because they'll let you get away with a lot aesthetically and visually, but it's how to deal with participation. And so to solve that, what we did is we set up like a large LED behind the sculpture and then tracked it with a heat camera, and then people's gestures. So when they would do a throwing gesture, they were able to throw light. The effect was throwing a light and electricity through the sculpture. And so that was enough participation for Diesel to be like, okay, these guys are getting the audience and the customer activated in an interactive way with the brand. So, but really we had the most amount of fun making this crazy, stupid sculpture, I guess. There's the jeans, the horrible jeans. I hate it. I can't even handle it. So then it's like, okay, let's start going into the spiritual realm. Okay, and this is like quite atheist in general, but I think it is interesting that within the online realm, how we can talk about these issues of worship and pilgrimage and journeys and how to make it a little less cold. And this is a project that I did with Mini Vegas, who are also in Amsterdam, and we're like, okay, let's think about how to take these paintings and these infuse a narrative that is continuous forever. So there's no beginning or end. It's always a sort of struggle of a character against the elements of nature. So going from a desert electrical storm into swampy, into mountainous landscapes, and fighting against the wind and the sun, and having enough interaction that it keeps the user involved emotionally with it. And I'm just going to show the video from it, but the interactive version, by moving the mouse, you can break apart the video. You can there's particle systems that are attached to the character. So there's always some level of participation that is necessary for feeling like you're not just watching voyeuristically, but you're with him. So that triggered, oh. I love the clapping, you guys are so nice. Unless it's just being polite because your mother's raised you well or something, but it seems really thoughtful. So this is the idea of, so that's sort of a journey-based idea of participating in a path with something. And then this is, this idea of rainbow apocalypse is kind of a, what happens to avatars in the afterlife? And so it's kind of, it's set up as a triptych, as like a triptych shrine. And so it's really a digital installation, and you walk up to it, and it's sort of meant as an experience of like, where do the Sims, where do all these digital avatars that we deal with, where do they go when they die? And so it's kind of a idea of that. A new idea, which is how to deal with, really creating a religious icon on the internet. And this is an idea called Image of Edessa, which is an old school religious symbol. And then, so making her out of animated GIFs and kind of thinking about, how to create these these classical Catholic imagery, but out of animated GIF sort of assets and approaches. it's really, you always have to think about who your audience was. And the audience for this were like, all right, let's really try to get Catholic nuns to look at animated GIFs as like a demographic strategy. So maybe it could be the Vatican's first animated GIF artwork. It would be kind of a weird thing to do. And this is sort of just some of the tests that Evan Roth and I did, like thinking about what can you do with an animated GIF, and just doing just code-based experiments with tiling and overlapping and time echoing, and just to kind of build up to that, just to see what could be done. And it's always interesting when you're plugging in these assets and seeing what kind of stuff comes out of it. And then here's the image of Edessa herself. And so I like to think about this stuff as the new kind of fireplace, which is like what are people going home to? What are they looking at? What are they thinking about? And so thinking about how to create digital artwork that accommodates that idea. And this is a series called Slut Tricks. And it's just, it's like it sounds. It's a slutty hand dealing with an eyeball. And I like this idea of people using digital media on their screens as a replacement for the fireplace. It's like you want to think about artwork that isn't too intrusive, but has a nice loop and a nice rhythm to it. And so Sedition is obviously a platform that I'm sure a lot of people here are using and thinking about. But we can think about the reincarnation remix. And I like this idea of facelifting, abstracting, changing, merging, and digitizing the soul. So first we start with facelifting. Head replacement is not a new thing, obviously. It's been going on since 1860 and probably longer. In computer-generated models, we can start thinking about, like these things like H&M using computer-generated models. They're hot, not annoying. But this is, so we took a strategy of using phase shift and taking a model and generating these kind of results from model facial expressions. And then if anyone's used hair physics in 3ds Max, it's a nightmare and horrible. But in a sense that drove the creative process a little bit. So this is, what we ended up with. And oh my God. Well, there's okay. That video is not working, I don't know why. But, can't explain it, don't know. But these facial expressions are animated in a way that's very gestural. And so to kind of give a little bit of balance to that, we're like, all right, let's get a strip pole, a stripper, and get some kind of like action movement happening. And then we ended up with these kinds of results. And this is for a German fashion designer named Bernhard Wilhelm. So live here. And, I do a lot of textile work with him, so it's kind of like he's my #1 German collaborator. But it was interesting to go into this realm because then it's suddenly, you can get a fashion feel, but break it a little bit, give it a little bit of like have it not be so forced, like this hideous kind of like deformed face is still in a way representative of the clothing, and it works well, I think. And the strip pole, just for posture. So then, if anyone's bored and wants to get a drink, feel free. So, abstracting the soul. All of this stuff has been kind of under a title of absurdistic, but I think it's also interesting to go into something more clean and something more like, I guess, sculptural and not so just intense. And so this is a prequel to a fashion show for a Dutch fashion designer named Iris van Herpen. She makes very beautiful sculptural dresses that are, I would say, almost inspired by abstract 3D geometry and that kind of approach. So it only made sense to take that kind of aesthetic and bring it into the video world for her. And so I worked with Joost Korengold, who's also a really great kind of 3D abstract artist, and we're like, all right, let's take the assets and kind of really create like a ghost dress that floats through the halls of Versailles. To render. It's horrible. But yeah, I mean, what do you do? It's like a thing that but then going back into absurd world, I do a lot of work for Adult Swim, which Adult Swim is a like kind of like stoner television in the US. It's on between 9 a.m. and 3 a.m. or 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. on the Cartoon Network. And they're like, hey, can you make some TV idents? And so it's like, yeah, you know, I'm really getting into beauty products. And it's like, all right, let's think about this idea of mythological manicures. So taking mythological creatures and what they're doing in their spare time when they get caught in the bathroom. And so it's like, all right, the creative process went like this. It's like, all right, let's take a hairdryer, flipper, and a wild horse, and then come up with horse nails. Or we take a blush brush, some crazy lizards, some nuts, and then have blush sack. Or some lipstick. This incredible opera singer, and a beast, and then have pretty. But then it all turned terribly wrong when I was talking to Bernard and showing him these things. And we're like, oh yeah, that's actually kind of interesting, like the unwrapped UVs, how the makeup looks on that. And then we're like, all right, let's make a real life fashion show where people have to act like pretty and rub their face all over it. And so we contacted a cosmetics company and made a giant real lipstick of this size, and then convinced a bunch of amazing dancers from Frankfurt to rub their face all over it. And they ended up with this kind of like grotesque, horrific makeup. And yeah, it's interesting. It was an interesting way to go from physical or digital to physical. But then it's like, all right, screw the young people. Like, let's think about how to deal with the old age of fashion. And so, hired this woman, Patricia Rust, who used to be the Hand of Dove in the 80s. She's a very fabulous woman. But took the approach of using cartoon sound effects for her presentation of herself. Oh, fuck. I meant to do that. Okay. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, we'll start here. That's her beautiful hand. It's so nice. Like, she's really a professional with her hand. This woman is so amazing. Like, she's like, when I was talking to her, I was like, imagine that you're talking to your dead husband. And she was like, oh my God. And we filmed it in slow motion, so that was kind of like, this is her response to the horrible statement. Love this one. So then, going from that, we could start, this is another project with Iris van Herpen, a Dutch designer, and so we're like, okay, let's think about what we could do with rematerializing what fashion objects can be. And so we're like, okay, let's throw white, like clear water and ink dyed water against each other and try to create a dress out of liquid. And so we happened to work with Daphne Guinness, who's the heir to the Guinness Foundation. She's a wild, wild lady. And we ended up working on live broadcast, which is some kind of like digital version of hell, and made this video. Formation on her body that Iris would make in real life out of melting plastic. So that's all of these are kind of the takes to make the dress. after being on the air 7 days straight. But now I did some cat stuff, but I'm actually really bored of cats now. So annoying because the internet ruined it. So I kind of feel stupid for talking about, but I love cats, actually, I do. It's just annoying because they're so goddamn trendy right now, but it just, whatever, I like them. So I went to the Cat Museum in Amsterdam and told them that I was a professional cat photographer, the world's best cat photographer somehow, and they believed me. And then showed them this portfolio of kind of experimental cat 3D stuff, some other kind of approaches. Then we made cat outfits and really did it properly, measured their bodies, their waistline, their hip line, their neck, and made these outfits that they could wear. And the idea of this one was to make an outfit for a cat made out of cat toys to see if he would eat himself. And also you gotta get it like fabulously sparkled for a sequin night out, or get floaty with the kitten approach. And I like this quote. It's about nonsense. I like nonsense. It wakes up the brain cells. Fantasy is a necessary ingredient in living. It's a way of looking at life through the wrong end of a telescope, which is what I do, and that enables you to laugh at life's realities. And that's kind of what's sparked this title of taking an absurdistic approach to art and digital media. And but back to what I said, that creepy thing about death being from the future. I think, what is death? And it's a crime committed against nature to screw you. But this is a project, it's called Like to Death, and it's the idea of, it's a social media experiment. It's the only one I've ever done, which is it's a sculpture of death itself, and then every Facebook like destroys the sculpture one like at a time. So after 20,000 likes, this will be gone forever and never online again. But then if people don't like it, it means they really like it. So it's kind of a win-win situation. It's like a trickery on the psyche of the nature, the internet. And it's still on, it's liketodeath.com. But I think because it was WebGL, not so many people could run it. I don't know. It's not dead yet. I think it's but then we go to virtual reality hell. And I'm working on an animation series right now called called The Beast and Sheast Show. And Sheast, which is a she beast, she works at a place called the Nail Polish Inferno. And so I was like, all right, what do people want to see in virtual reality? Probably a strip club. So I made it. I made them a strip club. It's the center of attention. And the interesting thing about the Oculus Rift is the fact that you can do characters design, make these assets, and when you put on the virtual reality headset from a workflow standpoint, you suddenly see what you've been making in 3D at a larger than life scale, or to life scale, depending on what you want to do. But all of these characters were really 8 to 9 feet tall, so I guess like maybe 3 meters or something. And so that was a very eye-opening experience to make something and then suddenly look up to it, and it just gives you new ideas. It just triggers different ways of thinking when you're working within a fabricated digital reality. And this is just in there to kind of showcase like a little bit like what it's looking like, through the headset. And that's Beast. So that's the perverted alien. That's Pretty from the Adult Swim things. It's a drunk wine bottle. Just to be literal. And then on the trapeze act is the Narcissisbians, which is a great white shark that's viciously in love with a holographic version of itself. It's cat using a grand piano as a litter box. There's Lady Cronus from earlier. There's a skeleton juggling the heads from the fashion Bernard Willem thing and so all of these assets that are used for multiple different projects are suddenly brought into a new virtual reality space. But I'd like to say let's celebrate the unexpected with this presentation by Beast. For anyone technically interested, it's rope physics with zero gravity, a wind force connected to the pelvis, pointing out, and a fluid emitter attached to the end of the animated spline, and then some collision properties on the geometry of his body and face. And the titles, I couldn't think of anything, so I just did random Wikipedia things, and the first thing that came up, I used it. But, so this is turning into an epic kind of scenario. Like, I'm working on the Beast and Sheast show, which is coming out in a month, the first pilot episode, which is a very involved process of, taking a really bad idea and spending a lot of time and effort and money to make it really, really bad. And this is his girlfriend, Sheast, just to get on the character development. And then again, there was a experimental workflow process for the song, the music playing behind his remix from all sorts of things, but the vocals are coming from a 50 Shades of Grey generator that generated some like naughty ideas and did text-to-speech to give her a voice.
I thought it was over, but his visions are avalanches, had other ideas. With my open face hands sandwiched now much like money in yoga pants. He thought it was time to start proving my rusty shiny Spanish.
But I'd like to sort of finish it off, this idea of take imagination seriously. I think that's the only thing that we should take seriously. But whether it's in therapy or in techno strip clubs, of course, I mean, why not? And I'd like to sort of conclude with the marriage of art and technology, and to toast to that. Thank you for having me.